Hey,
Hey, buddy, how are you? Happy Thursday.
happy Thursday. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. There's been some great games this week. There's been a lot of sports news as well. A lot of
A,
sports news.
a lot. And I got two things for you. One,
Okay?
so I dropped my camera. Give me one second.
Oh, and I forgot to send you that stand. It's on this list. It's
Okay.
coming. I got you. I wrote it on my post-it. I have a post-it
Hold
over
on
here of other
one second.
things. Take your time. Take your time.
Take two. So, I have two things for you. One, so I watch music videos.
Yes.
Of course, of my dad. And I watch like music videos that are like from the 2000s.
Okay.
And Eminem pops on.
Mhm.
I've heard the song. I did not know you were in the video. I was like, wait, that's Lisa. I didn't want to like text you like, yo, I don't understand. But I want to let you know that I'm watching. That's one.
It's funny you say this because I mentioned this video, the Eminem video for the song "We Made You." It's an award-winning video. It's great. It was like the greatest thing ever, of course, you know. And I mentioned it in my podcast, and two of my friends reached out, texted me. They're like, "Yo, how did I not know that you were in the Eminem video?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm kind of the type of person, if you didn't hear about it from somebody else, I mean, around the time I was promoting it, of course, right? But you didn't really hear about it from somebody else. I'm not like hanging out with my friends in their backyard drinking my one beer every Saturday, and I would drink with my friends going, hey, I did this, and this week. So you're going to figure it out. But it's always surprising. Also, I did a cameo in Billions, and I love the show. And so my producer for my podcast, him and his fiance were just starting to watch Billions, so I didn't tell him.
Right.
And season 3 comes around, he's like, hey, they mentioned your name on Billions. You know, and I'm thinking, what's he gonna do season 4 when he sees my cameo? That comes around, he sends an email, he's like, you could have told us. I'm like, no, it's more fun. But thank you. I've had some great experiences on this journey, Scoop. I've done some really cool things, and I think quarantine, you know, sitting and going through your phone and looking back at all of your memories, and it really made me go, oh my gosh, multiple trips to Australia, just like all the great places I've been, all the things I've done.
Right.
Pretty happy about it. But let's talk about what's important right now.
Let's talk
I
about
have not completed my bracket because my day has gotten away from me. Have you completed your bracket? Okay, good. So we're on the same page there. We do know that tonight we get some play-in games, which we don't really feel like we're, you know, brackets are due tomorrow, right?
Right.
It's gonna get us in the conversation. Like, here's how I'm gonna use these play-in games because I'm gonna watch, because this is when the broadcasters give you tidbits during timeouts and injuries of everything that's going on in their association. So you watch just to gather this data, right? And I'll watch with a notepad. I'll be like, okay, and they'll be reading other things at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about tonight. Short slate for tonight, but we've got some good games. We're going to start right here. We're going to start with the Utah Jazz at the Washington Wizards right now. The total points is 228.5. Beal's been great, but geez, I played him in DFS last night. He gave me like 45 points. They don't even consider that worthy of the flame emoji that you get on DraftKings when your player, you know, kills it for you. No flame for Bradley Beal. I felt bad for him this morning when I checked my lineup.
Yeah, no, I empathize with you there.
Now, we know on the Jazz side of the ball, Conley is going to be out for injury management. I like this new term. They're being legit real with us. And then the other side, we know that Nito is day-to-day, and Smith still has 6 weeks. So it's not a lot of injuries really affecting the Wizards. For the win, it's minus 650 for the Jazz, plus 425 for the Wizards. The spread's 11. The total points here, Jazz, we know, can put them up. Wizards, we know, will lose. Am I correct?
You are. I think at the end of the day, the Jazz have an MVP candidate, and Donovan Mitchell. I've been saying it all season. I'll continue to say it. Nato was out, but you know, and so was their point guard. But I do like Utah in this game.
And look, Gobert is a candidate as well. He is playing. Yeah. He is really. You got to give the kid credit. I mean, the media was pretty hard on him over the situation, and really, you know, we were all kind of living in our own bubble, right? And so to see him come back and not have a chip on his shoulder in a negative way, instead he was like, I'm going to be a better player, and they're not going to be able to talk shit about me. And I like how it motivated him in a very strong and beautiful way. So that game is done. What do you all do? Oh, My friend Jeff, he's taking the Jazz for the win scoop, but he thinks it's the under. Now, he is always betting. He's always playing DFS. He loves Bovada like we do.
Mhm.
Sometimes he's my one friend that will talk me out of my first decision, but it's not going to happen, Jeff. I'm staying to my guns, and so is Scoop. We've got right here the Jazz for the win and the total points for the over. Next game. Look at the cards. Thunder's got a little bit of a different story when it comes to the injury situation. Oklahoma City Thunder is taking on the Atlanta Hawks. We've got Dort, who is still day-to-day. Theo Maldo, still day-to-day. We know that Hall is out with the knee. On the other side of the Hawks, Dunn will be back on Saturday, which is pretty exciting. And Hunter is out with the knee, and Ungwa is questionable, and Capella is still day-to-day.
Right.
What have you gotten on Clint Capella? Because the day-to-day, we know we're getting close. And is it that we're waiting for them to have maybe the back-to-back situation that's ideal?
Mm-hmm. Well, number one, the Hawks are playing great basketball. 7-3 in their last 10. They're not in a rush. They're in sixth place in the NBA's Eastern Conference. Lloyd Pierce was let go right at the All-Star break. Nate McMillan was kind of dissed by the Pacers last season, and he's got a reprieve, if you will, in Atlanta.
I agree
on Capella right now, but I believe that when Capella does come back, they're going to still continue to be a force to be reckoned with. Trae Young is playing great, and honestly, I watched the Hawks and the Rockets game the other night, and I thought the Hawks may have been the team that the Rockets would have used to kind of break that slump. No such luck. They're passing the ball well. They're shooting the ball well. They're getting calls their way. Capella doesn't really have to come back tonight.
It works out really well for them because this can extend their run later in the season if they do protect him and know that, hey, we might make it to the playoffs. And if we do make it to the playoffs, we want Clint Capella out there. Let's talk about the total here. The Thunder Hawks total is 224. It's plus 240 for the Thunder to take the win and minus 290 for the Hawks. So the edge is definitely on the Hawks there.
Yeah, I think we are all on one accord on that one.
What's Jeff got to say? What do you all have to say? We got the Hawks for the win. Jeff is going for the under. Again, the total points is 224. Can the Thunder put it up? If we're looking at they're averaging about 105 to 107 a game right now, I think, for the Thunder. So we going for the over or the under on this one? We know we're both taking the Hawks for the win.
I'm going with Script Daddy. Under.
We love it. We love it. Script Daddy, we're taking you, Jeff. We're going to go to the Orlando Magic, taking on the New York Knicks, who have been so exciting to watch lately. But the Knicks are without my friend, who I really enjoy watching. I haven't got to see him live yet. I cannot wait to watch Emmanuel Quickly play basketball live. I've always been, it's funny. You think about all the players that you've seen, how you study them during a live game. It's just so different, and you never forget them, and you start to really notice them more. So I cannot wait to go and see him play. But he is day-to-day. Peyton and Rivers are both out. And Derrick Rose is just still stuck in this COVID protocol. I feel like he's in a board game. And, you can't get to the next level. You keep getting bumped back 6 tiles. Like, what is going on with Derrick Rose? Can he pass, go, and collect 200 scoop? I mean, we need him out there.
Man, it's like I downloaded Sonic the Hedgehog on my phone.
It's going to kill your battery, man. It's going to kill your battery.
It's interesting. And I think when you look at the Knicks, last couple games, I watched their game against the Nets. You and I were talking a little before the game. The Nets got the win, and then they played the Sixers. They were in a back-to-back situation. When you look at Julius Randle and what he's been able to do under Tips' system, I'll tell you one thing I really do like. Do you remember that defensive sequence at the end of that Nets game?
Yep.
Where was this last year? I guess there was no Tibbs.
What are they, number 2 or number 1 right now in defense in the NBA?
Top 3.
Here's what I love, too, about New York sports fans. Julius Randle has the mini meltdown as the game's closing, right? The bad call, because there was just another bad call that got reviewed and it got turned. So, he's thinking, and he's so intense, and I get it. It shows that really want that passion to win. But, New York fans love him so much that even if it was something, because when you went back and watched it, it was clearly a travel. You could clearly see it. But you have to go back and watch it a couple, but he was so heated. And, nobody judged him for being so irate. Everyone's like, Julius, He's got the team on his back. You know, that's just New York sports fans. It's just
Kicking
fun.
chairs.
Yeah, it's just fun to see how this no matter what, New York sports fans rally around these players, you know, and they can do no wrong. It's awesome to see Julius Randle finally having that somewhere where the whole city just loves him and people talk about him in such a great way. So the Magic are missing Fournier, who's out questionable with the groin. We know Terrence Ross is still day-to-day. Enes is out. So the Magic, Knicks, total points. It's a low-scoring game because we're factoring in the Knicks defense. How exciting is it to know that you, the Knicks, are bringing down the totals on these games? It's only 206.5. We haven't seen a game under 210 for totals in quite some time. It's plus 80 for the Magic to get the win, minus 220 for the Knicks to get the win.
Lisa, the Knicks are due. They should have won that game against Philly. They came back in that game against the Nets. They have a day off. I think in the next week or so, they've got some back-to-back games against the Wizards. Those are some more consolation games.
Yep.
They have back-to-backs at the Garden against the Wizards next week, I believe. So I think this is going to be the start of a run. And as they say in New York Lotto, you got to be in it to win it. And I think that the Knicks have a chance against the Orlando Magic tonight.
So Jeff is going the Knicks in the under, though. He says the over is tempting. You know, if Quickly was playing, I'd be a little bit more comfortable with the over because he gets those wily extra 8 to 12 boards, right? So without him, I can see why the score is a bit lower. So I'm going to go with the Knicks for the win and the under. What are you going to go?
I'm going to go with the Knicks. We both agree, except I'm going to go with the over.
Okay. You take the over and I take the under. Notes are done. Next game up is the Timberwolves facing the Phoenix Suns. We've got some COVID protocols on the other side with Cameron Johnson. D'Angelo Russell might be back for the Timberwolves at the end of this week, which I think would be super exciting. He's started to really come on for me as a player. Like he really, in the past 2 years, you've seen a huge change in him.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think I like, the whole D'Angelo Russell coming to Minnesota was something that was brewing for like a year and some change. Towns as well as D'Angelo Russell are close friends. They forecasted that they would be teammates one day. Now they're trying to bring it all together and somehow get Devin Booker. I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon. But I look at the Timberwolves team. I watched a little bit of the Lakers and the Timberwolves the other night.
Yeah, me too. I watch those games in the morning.
Yeah.
I turn them on in my office while I'm doing work. It's so great. I get to still watch the games that I would not watch that late.
Towns' rhythm is coming together.
I agree.
Bring some wins. And
I agree.
That's been their Achilles heel. Phoenix is not a team to be played with, led by Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and what have you. I do have Phoenix in this game, however.
It is not the highest total on the board, but it is the second highest total on the board. This total is 231.5 at Bovada, everybody. You know what I'm talking about. And the Timberwolves plus 400 to win. The Suns minus 600 for the win. It's a high-scoring game.
Script Daddy is my Ask Jeeves and my Cliff Notes today. So I feel like I'm getting all of the sneak peeks of Canterbury Tales by reading his notes. I'm going to go with the Suns under, just like him. He's at 231. Yeah. So what do you have?
Yeah, I had the Suns in the under as well. This is a little bit longer of a trip for the Timberwolves, right? They're still adjusting to that. Phoenix Suns are at home. They're going to get the win, but I don't think it's going to be a massive throw of offense where we're going to go over. And it is a pretty high total if you look at 231.5. Here is the game of the night that I cannot wait for because this same game just happened the other night. And it was my game of the night, which is something I'm trying to get in the habit of doing every day, where I just pick a game of the night that I really want to focus on. It was the Pelicans Trailblazers. We knew, Pelicans at that time were on the 2-game win streak, getting the CJ McCollum back for the Trailblazers. So I picked the Trailblazers for the win and the total for the over. That night, when I did the stats, Damian Lillard was averaging 29.9 points a game. He had a 50-point night that night to make sure they got the win.
He's blow up aiding. He's blowing up 50 points. Kept it humble. His post-game interview was a thing of beauty. And I think when you look at Damian Lillard, one of the things that I like is that he's so underrated, yet he does so much. And I blame it. It's a gift and a curse. And I mean no disrespect when I say this, but I believe it's the Steph Curry effect in the Western Conference. It kind of is the same thing.
And the market. And the market as well. I mean, if this kid was in New York or he was in Los Angeles for the Lakers, we'd be, but everyone knows who Lillard is. What I love about it is he's the most clutch player in the NBA as of right now, no doubt. He's made more clutch shots than anybody in NBA history. He just locked that in the other night. But what I love about him is he loves where he is. He loves his teammates, loves his community, and he is making himself known in a really small market. And it's funny to think that, like, you are always wanting to watch the Trailblazers play. Like, hey, this is a great matchup, Pelicans and the Trailblazers. But when the Trailblazers play someone else, I'm still watching again because I love watching Lillard. So I think what that market did was brilliant because they brought in a little mastermind who wants to stay there, and he brings eyes. He brings eyes to their games.
Lisa, and I'm showing our youth here. When I think of the Blazers, I think of Clyde Drexler, Cliff Robinson, the late Kevin Duckworth, and over the last couple of years, the Blazers have been doing well. I think they went flat in playoffs in the bubble last year. Injuries were their Achilles heel. But honestly, I think that not only we talked about MVP candidates, I think not only are the Blazers in a good situation with Damian Lillard, an underdog MVP candidate, I think they're a dark horse overall as a unit against the Lakers or the Clippers as well if they stay healthy. And I mean,
because Lillard can do the clutch shot against anybody.
Yes.
So you can play all game long as close and competitive as you want, but he can take the game from you. And that's the element that he has. And I'm going to say this too, all around, like everything that surrounds him, I love his commercials. I love all the stuff he's involved in. He's just dynamic. And is CJ playing tonight with another game tomorrow? I think CJ is not listed as getting the maintenance rest, but I bet you they rest him tomorrow, right? Because remember, they've had a night off in between these two games, so he's already gotten a rest night. He'll be on probably restricted minutes, but there we go. Let's go with the total points in this one. This is the highest one on the board again. The other night, it was 238.5. The lines, the bookmakers have adjusted. Tonight, it's 239.5. When are we going to get the game scoop where I'm saying to you, like, oh, the total is 279.5. Are we going with the over? I'd be exhausted. My arms would be hurting just watching them make all these shots. I'd be like exhausted.
It's funny you bring that up, Lisa, because I was talking to a colleague of mine earlier today, and we were discussing like the point we are in the season where nobody's paying attention to basketball or NBA basketball because of the college game, and it kind of is like, ironically, just because of COVID and the scheduling, this is like the midpoint where normally in an ideal and perfect world, this is like teams will be rolling at this point in March. So we're really at like a December, January point, or like a February right before All-Star. The regular season is going to last through May. That being said, I don't think you're going to see your best NBA basketball until probably April.
Yeah, you got to save some gas in the tank. I mean, how do we know that late April Durant doesn't come out playing every single night, like 32 minutes a game, and is just killing it? We're like, oh, he's so rested. He's like fresh. You're right, and it's a long journey, and people do lose interest right now. Let's face it, we're up against a lot of things. MLB news is starting to heat up. It's NFL free agency, which means you can still be watching the NFL Network an hour or two a day, and just to follow and catch up with everything else. The draft in 29th, and then April 9th through 11th, you've got the Masters. So there's a lot of things, but to me, I'm at the point where like, okay, there's really no new content with TV shows. So to be a sports fan, we're in the best place because we get new content every single night. My friends are like, I'm out of shows, there's nothing to watch, nobody's making, I'm like, what do you mean? There's games on. So to me, it's great backdrop. So for us, it doesn't affect us as much, right?
No, not at all. Not at all. And
right?
More than anything else, we got to get that bracket done.
We do. We got to get that bracket. We'll work on that together tonight. So this one is 239.5. I am still going to go with the over, but the win is even right now for the Pelicans. So it's even at minus 120. The win is just even. So,
I got the Blazers.
Okay.
I have them on the over.
Blazers and the over. So you don't think the Pelicans can pull this out after losing the other night?
In that game, Lonzo had 17 assists the other night, I believe.
Yeah.
Playing great basketball. Honestly, I just
I agree with you because we know that no matter what, another great thing about Damian Lillard, player Portland Trailblazers, in case y'all aren't paying attention, is that every game matters to him. So it's hard to write him off and saying, like, some of these other teams, you can see it. They play each other 2 days in a row. One time you'll win, one time we'll win. You can almost feel it.
Yeah, but it's also the added presence. Carmelo Anthony has a great mid-range game. Been playing great basketball this season. Nurkic will be coming back soon. It's like, kind of like, I even though they're not playing tonight, I got to make it.
2 weeks for Nurkic, by the way.
Yep.
That's what we have. Yep, 2 weeks.
They are the Western Conference's Miami Heat.
You are so right on that one. One more game on the board tonight. We thank you all for joining us here at Bovada. We hope that you're enjoying this and the game we're talking about last. The poor Charlotte Hornets have to face the Los Angeles Lakers. They, even without Anthony Davis, that's a scary acquisition. The total points on this one, 225 straight up. It's plus 255 for the Hornets to take the win. It's minus 310 for the Lakers to take the win. Lakers do have Antetokounmpo, Kostas, Giannis's brother, and Marc Gasol, both in the COVID protocol situation. And Alex Caruso is still day-to-day with the concussion. But the Hornets are fully healthy. That does not mean you can beat the Lakers. Right?
Yeah. Lisa, this is probably where me and you are going to disagree today.
You're going to take the Charlotte Hornets at Staples Center against LeBron and the Los Angeles Lakers for the win. Now I might have to stay up and watch this game and not watch it in the morning. Okay, but listen, when I get up, I don't even check Twitter first because I don't want to see everything. I just want to watch everything.
Right.
And I'm up earlier than anybody else anyway. So you're taking the Hornets for the win. Total points right now is 225. Are you going with an under or an over right here? You think the Hornets?
The under.
This is wild. I mean, I hate to go against Terry Rozier over 30 points.
Scary Terry plays great basketball, and I think
we can't agree on every pick of the night. So I'm going to go with the Lakers here so that we can disagree over the late night game, and I can wake up tomorrow morning and I can be like, oh. So if you have any leans in the bracket that you're putting together, to me, I see my final two facing up is Illinois and Gonzaga. Do you think there's going to be a wild card or two in this big dance that is going to take Gonzaga, the undefeated team? They'd be the first undefeated team since 1976 to win the NCAA tournament and go through an undefeated season.
But Lisa, I got to say this. I hear you on the Gonzaga part. The strength of schedule is everything, and they had an undefeated season. In my opinion, Michigan had a tougher schedule.
You're right. Nope, you're so right. I've gathered this data, and it's definitely a fact.
Illinois is dope.
But they got this free-founding momentum about them where they feel untouchable because they're undefeated. Does it give them some extra legs? No.
I don't think so. I think Red Bull gives you wings. If
that's what I'm wondering.
Red Bull gives you wings. And if I'm Michigan, I feel the way because they were overlooked.
Now, Michigan has an injury.
They do.
Will he be playing, do you think, in the tournament at all?
I'm not sure, but I did some reading on Michigan, and I got to know Juwan Howard over the last year, and I like what they put together. And really and truly, when you look at that team last year, because of COVID-19, the tournament was canceled. I feel like this is Thanksgiving leftovers from what should have been last year specifically because they got a talented two and they got a great supporting cast. And as Shrimp Daddy
So Jeff says he thinks the best two teams are Illinois and Michigan. I mean, I've got Illinois right up there. Right. But, I see, and this is really, I think so many people, the obvious bracket is going to end with Gonzaga, right? So I don't want to be that obvious.
Ethan Hefner said West Virginia is a sleeper. Yes, and I also think Ohio State is a sleeper as well. So I think there's a lot to consider there.
That ending to the Alabama game was unbelievable. There's nothing like a buzzer beater. I don't know, and it's so much more exciting in college for some reason. Because we know the season's over.
Because there's an innocence, there's zoning, there's trapping. I think for me, ever since high school and even in college, there's something about a camaraderie where you're filling out brackets, where you're having conversations, where it's a one game. It's not like the NBA playoffs where it's best 4 out of 7.
And nothing else matters. Your whole season doesn't matter. You lose today, you're going home. And there's just such a it's like in golf when they have the sudden death putt, right? And I always with sudden death, it sounds, but that's really what it feels like. When you go to tournaments, you know the feeling. That's what it feels like. You're playing to stay. they're playing to not have to get on that team bus and go to the airport. Yes, and it's going to be very different for the players this year. They're really going to be isolated in hotels to have this bubble environment. I've heard a lot of great interviews throughout the week on NBA radio from coaches, and the coaches are so empathetic. And I heard a coach yesterday say, I hope my players don't hate it so much they want to lose to go home, because the food isn't even warm. It's all cold food. It's just being prepackaged and put outside the rooms. So it's going to be a struggle. I mean, it's not the same memory the athletes have had before them, but the fact that they're pulling this off, that they're still going to get the reps, they're still going to be having the stats for their potential in the NBA drafts of the future, it's all so important.
It is, and I got to give a shout out to our sound guy, Freebird 497. Our sound is spot on. I think you're right, specifically because when it came down to analytics and intelligence in basketball last year, you knew LaMelo was going to be a top 3 guy. He played overseas, but there was a lot. You knew Edwards over in Minnesota was going to be in that conversation as well. Now the world can kind of see. I feel like when you look back in time, last year's draft class kind of had a hardship because
we didn't know who they were.
Exactly.
We didn't get to see them showcase themselves. I mean, it was so incredibly difficult. March Madness is when you start to dream about rookies you're going to be putting on your fantasy basketball team next season, and also, yes, Freebird. I love that we have sound people that work for us for free. They're so helpful. They're amazing. And Jeff, it's always good to see you. Angela, it's good to see you. We appreciate all of you for coming by. Scoop will be on the little text machine later on, filling out this bracket madness, talking smack about games. And then when you don't hear from me, that means I'm at the record stage of the evening, and that I'll be watching in the morning.
Yes, ma'am. And before we go, took another one of your suggestions. I watched the Notorious B.I.G. documentary on Netflix.
And you loved it.
Yes.
You loved it, right? I'm so glad we're sharing these suggestions back and forth. I look forward to seeing you. I just know that one day we're actually going to be able to sit side by side and do something like this in person. But till then, I look forward to this every Thursday. I know that our viewers do as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Everybody, use my promo code at Bovada, BB Lisa 1000, or cryptocurrency. It's Lisa 250 BB. Scoop, enjoy the games tonight.
You too. Go Hornets.
Go Hornets. No, go Lakers. Go Lakers.